Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Showcast, a series of candid conversations from the world of film, brought to you by The Film Verdict and hosted by yours truly, Matt Micucci. Today, we're thrilled to be joined by the talented filmmaker César Díaz, whose latest film, Meixco 86, is screening in the Piazza Grande section of the Locarno Film Festival. Meixco 86 tells the gripping story of a Guatemalan rebel activist, a woman torn between her duties as a mother and a relentless commitment to the revolutionary cause. It's a powerful narrative that not only dives into the personal sacrifices of activists, but also challenges us with the difficult choices they face. In our conversation, Díaz shares the deeply personal origins of this story, drawing inspiration from his own life and the experiences of his mother. He sheds light on why it's crucial to honor those who devote their lives to transforming society and the often unseen sacrifices they endure. But that's not all. We also dive into how Díaz skillfully plays with the thriller genre, developing his unique cinematic language, also drawing on his prominent background in film editing, and we discuss his collaboration with the film's lead actress, Berenice Bejo. So fire up an Audio Teeny and listen to the audio waves as they fly through the air. This is the Showcast. César, welcome to the Showcast.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
It's lovely to meet you. And, at the time of recording, you will soon be premiering your second feature film, Meixco 86, at the Locarno Film Festival. Are you excited?
Very much, especially that we are going to the Piazza Grande, which I've never been there, but it seems that they have like 8,000 seats. So on a huge screen. And it's going to be an amazing experience to watch a film there.
Yeah.
With all those people sharing with the audience.
Yeah,
finally.
An open air screening, one of the best in the world. Hopefully it won't rain, but that's an amazing thing for you.
My fingers are crossed.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing for you to experience. A film that you worked on so long, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. But one of the things that I like to do, César, before because this is the first time we talk, and I like to begin my questions with my interviews with the artists I speak with a very simple question. I'm always interested to find out, what is your earliest memory of cinema?
E.T. I remember watching it in Mexico, and I remember in Mexico they always subtitle. So my mother was with me, and she was reading the subtitles, and then she was explaining in the film. This is my first cinema experience, and it was really amazing because I remember the emotion, and I remember the experience, and it was really powerful, and then it stayed with me for a very long time. Even now, when I watch E.T. again, I can remember this time. So my first cinema experience.
So was that when you first decided that cinema was the thing that you'd like to do professionally?
Oh, no. It was later on that I decided that I wanted to do it professionally. But actually, I decided to make it professionally when I was a teenager. And I think Paris, Texas from Vendors was a good reason to do it, because I remember also, again, the feeling and the sensation of watching this movie. And then I remember how I learned that you can explore a theme, and you can explore the father and son relationship and the mother and son relationship. At that point, when I realized that I can explore themes with images and with sounds, that's when I decided to do it professionally, actually.
Yeah, what an extraordinary film. Paris, Texas. Vendors is one of my favorites of his generation. So I can understand what a profound impact it had on you. But what was your entrance point into the world of film, or even learning about film? I understand that you have quite a prominent background in writing.
Yeah, and the editing, actually. The script writing and the editing, because when I finished the film school in scriptwriting, at that time, especially in France and Belgium, there's this author cinema industry. So they don't need, at least at that point or at that time, they don't need the script writers, So I start doing some editing as an assistant editor, and I get the chance to get involved with great editors at that time, like Jean-Claude Bonfanti or Jacques Comet, some like a huge editor from the French cinema. And I remember learning from them a lot, and actually learning also how to write a film on an editing room, because for me, editing is also writing, So that's actually my entry point. I was lucky because I start my first experience, my very, very first experience was with Amores Perros in Mexico with González Iñárritu. I was the second assistant editor, and I remember subtitling the film before going to Cannes.
Oh, it's a great film to get you started for sure. It's an iconic film. Yeah, so that's interesting. I mean, editing, I guess, also helps you understand the pacing of a movie, the rhythm of a movie, right? I mean, do you feel that has had an impact when you transition to directing?
Yeah, of course, and also that allows you to shoot in a different way. I am editing the film while I'm shooting the film. I know where I really have to take the time. I know which kind of material I will never use. So if I will never use it, I will never shoot it. I think this is important for me. All the people that work with me tell me the same thing, that I am editing the film while I am shooting. This is really something that comes from many years in an editing room. This is one thing. And then also having this idea of a structure, that I think that you have two types of rhythm. One, it's specifically for a scene, that every scene needs its own rhythm, but also in terms of the big picture, the whole structure, there's also a rhythm there, and spending many times in many years in an editor room, that allowed me really to feel it, and then have this sensation. Then where's also the core of the film, where I have to go faster, where I have to go slower. For me, the best film school was the editor room, actually.
Yeah, good point. Both the practical side of it and then the artistic side of it. So really interesting points that you brought up. Let's talk about your kind of directorial work. And again, a simple question, also maybe to understand the type of cinema that you are interested in making, the type of stories that you're interested in telling in the stories that you feel drawn to specifically.
I think I need a real connection with the reality, and with a context. For me, this is very important, because I really think that both the real and the context bring some conflict in between the characters. You know what I mean? Because I am using the context to put the characters in the worst situation, that there they can really explore, and then the conflicts that they are having. This is the kind of. Also, I think I'm trying to build my own language or my own signature. I think I am getting with having this journey with these characters, and then following these strong characters that are struggling with themselves, and then they are just trying to be honest with themselves, and then trying to discover something about them. This is the kind of the cinema that I am willing to still to continue working.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up a couple of really interesting points that maybe we'll revisit throughout the course of this interview, this conversation. But of course, the main one that comes to mind is when we talk about Mexico 86, that historical background is certainly there. I mean, this is a film that takes place at a very specific time in history. It's not necessarily about the World Cup, as some people might think when they look at the title. title, but the World Cup kind of is part of the story somehow. But how would you describe the story of your film? And also for the benefit of those listening who are maybe not familiar with this historical context of the movie that you said that is quite important in your films, what was happening at the time?
It was a dictatorship in Guatemala, actually, for a long time, since 54. One general after other, doing this coup after coup. And then many Guatemalans exiled in Mexico, because at that time, Mexico was a very safe place, not only for Guatemalans, for Argentinians, Spaniards, Chileans, It was a wonderful place that I would like to Mexicans to remember that at some point they were a safe place for many people and they saved many lives. Actually, it's kind of important to say. I think this is the context, and then I will describe the film as an encounter between two characters that supposed to love each other but don't know each other for real. The meeting of two strangers, two foreigners that they don't, and they are supposed to be close because they are mother and son in a biological way, but they are not. So they have to build this relationship, and they have to learn how to love each other. They have to learn how to know each other, and they will have to decide if they want to stay together. So this is how I describe the film actually.
And in fact, reading the press notes that I was given about this film, there is actually a very personal side to this story. I mean, you experienced similar things that take place in the story of Mexico 86. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. My mother was a guerrilla fighter when I was very little. She has to get away from Guatemala because she was wanted by the regime, and I stayed with my grandmother. And then years later, when I was 10, I came to live with my mother. And as I said, I came to live with someone that I don't know, and it's your mother. And then you don't know how to deal with it, because for me, my mother was my grandmother, So it is difficult because you have to basically build a relationship from scratch. And you feel that you don't have the choice also. It was very interesting also to understand which is the price that people have to pay to change or to transform the reality of to make a fair world, Because I think the previous generation sacrificed themselves to get a better world, to fight against dictatorship, to fight against injustice, to have freedom, to have democracy, to have this kind of values that are very important. But they have a very high price to pay, which is being separate from your family, don't have a life, expose yourself, be in danger, putting your life in danger, putting the life of your loved ones in danger. So I also think it's important to bring that over the table, and then just to think about it, and then put it in the context, in today's context, that it's quite different, because I don't think that right now we can say the same thing, that there are people that are really fighting for these kind of values,
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. So in a way, with your films and even your previous film, which, in a way explored many of the similar things that you talked about, I feel like with your films, you kind of want to celebrate the sacrifices that were made.
Because I think it's important, because I think this is what we need to really transform society, to really change the things. I mean, if we just stay at home and then we do nothing, we can keep complaining about it, but things are not going to change. And then to make things happen, you need to sacrifice something. Of course, there's some kind of context that allow you to do that, because they have the chance to live in a context that allowed you to relieve or allowed you to think that if you sacrifice your life, you will make a better world for your children, But I think it's important I think it's important that, and then we need that kind of people somehow, you know?
Following on that trail of thought, do you think that cinema still has that power to maybe help change things, or at least raise awareness of these things within the modern times that we're living in and considering everything?
Raising themes, I think for sure. Believing that we will change it or we will transform the society with the film, that will be naive, I think. But at least we have the chance to raise some kind of important themes and then put it on the table and then try to discuss about it and then try to bring some audience to think about their commitment and then think about their relationship with injustice and then try to also to think about even their relationship with their families, you know, that I think, because I also think that for changing the big picture, we need to change by yourself as an individual. So this is why I think it's important to still making movies about it and then try to raise that kind of themes and stories. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking about your film in particular, you know, I found that aside from having this really powerful message and exploring a very dense, intense historical context, you know, it's also fun to watch. You know, I think it might not be the best word to use to describe it, but I think it's also important to mention it, because there's a tendency in films that explore themes, topics, or historical context that we discussed. There's a tendency for those films to maybe be a little heavy, but this is a film that kind of keeps you hooked from the beginning, you know? So I felt something that I wanted to talk about. And of course, an important aspect of this story is the story of the leading woman, a rebel activist forced to choose between her duties as a mother and continuing her revolutionary activism. And I'm sure it was important for you to find the right actor to play this role. So how did you come to meet Berenice Bejo, and what do you feel she brought to the table in a creative sense?
I think Berenice it's a wonderful actress that she has like a huge palette because she has so many experience that she brings to the set and then she brings to the story. And also I think because the film was important to her in a personal way, on a personal level, because she's Argentinian and she left Argentina when she was 3 and then she grew up in France, like in exile, you know? So she can somehow understand and relate to the character. And for me, it was a huge challenge because she is an Oscar nominee actress, you know, and then you have to believe in yourself enough to think that you can direct her and then drive her to the right place, you know, and having the tools and then choosing the words or choosing the frame, to really express that you're having in mind. So for me, it was a huge challenge. And I learned so much about this experience, so much. I will never do a film again because I think I'm not talking about like mistakes, but I'm talking about experience, you know, that with experience, you really change the way that you're working, the way that you're putting in place, that you are preparing. And then, I am really thankful to hear about it and to the crew also, because the problem with a director like me, like I shot every 5 years, that my crew, they shot like, I know, 3-4 films a year, you know? So my DP in between Nuestras Madres and Mexico, she shot like 10 films, you know? So all this experience really helped me and I learned from it. Your first question about raising themes and not being heavy with that, it was also a challenge for me because, of course, I want to explore this mother and son relationship, of course, I want to talk about this important revolutionary fight, but I have some very particular ideas about the thriller and the things that I want to test, like how to make a thriller without the fireworks. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense to you. You know what I mean? When I choose to shot the race, the
car chase. Yeah.
The car chase, for example, the car chase, we are always inside the car chase. And it was a choice, actually. They offer me like this Russian arm to going around and then making a 360 shot and then blah, 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 then going to the wheel. And I said, no, this is not my grammar. No, this is not my language. My language is to stay close to these characters and then following their journey. And then if I start just making fireworks at the end, I will never develop and I will never go deeper in this character journey. So I will only have the action, and then I don't care about the action. I mean, there's so many directors that are doing best than me, you know. I have nothing to say in that direction or in that kind of movies. I have something to bring about exploring these characters and then being close to them and then sharing their emotions and their feelings and then with the audience. And this is why we are only inside or having a very few elements to bring some tension and then making the thriller works. As the visit of the commander, when he's talking about the nails, when they are just taking out the nails of the child. And I said it's a wonderful thriller scene because you can imagine the horror, you know, these terrific things. You can imagine it. And your imagination will be more powerful than all the image that I can show you. And this is where I think I have something that it's only me, you know, something special.
Yeah, the thing that you talked about earlier, your signature style.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, you know, thinking about your film and specifically that car scene, not only would it have been completely out of place to have like a Los Angeles buddy cop movie type of car chase scene, but also it would have removed the power that this scene actually has. Anybody watching that film will know what I'm talking about, or, you know, it's a particularly powerful scene, particularly powerful moment in the movie. But yeah, Cesar, I don't want to keep you much longer, but I do want to thank you very much for talking about your journey in movies and your new film, Meixco 86. I wish you all the best in Locarno.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. And thank you very much for watching the film and sharing with the podcast to your audience.
I hope you enjoyed this latest episode of the Showcast from the 2024 Locarno Film Festival. And if you liked what you heard, make sure to check out more of our audio reviews and podcast conversations on filmverdictnetwork.com or by searching for TFV Network wherever you get your podcasts. Till the next time, this is Matt Micucci signing off. See you soon.